Today was the day. Today was the day that the LOV was going to attack UA. Shigaraki had been planning this for over a month, and it looked promising. The plan was to capture you for ransom, but in reality, it was just an excuse to get several, if not all the pros together in one place to get them to surrender control over UA. You were equipped with an earpiece so that you could listen for instructions. You stood in the 1A classroom, watching the students while Aizawa taught them, when in reality, he was asleep behind his desk. You were waiting for the signal when you heard Toga's voice from the other end. "We're ready, listener," she whispered in a chipper tone. You smiled to yourself and looked out at the group of chattering brats. All of a sudden, you saw a black and purple swirling vortex appear behind you. And when a pair of strong arms wrapped around you and pulled you inside, you screamed. Some of them even tried to run to you, but it was too late. You were pulled into the vortex, and when it closed, you looked around to find an unfamiliar building. "Do you like the fake base we found?" Toga's giddy voice popped up. "Clever," you replied, as you got up off the ground. Toga then grabbed your hand and dragged you over to a metal chair, where you sat down. Dabi then tied thick ropes around you, and you were dragged to an empty room. You were then told to wait, and when the pros got there, you were to scream, shout, do anything to get their attention. Then they left. As you sat there for what seemed like ages, you finally heard a loud bang that ripped you from your thoughts. There was a lot of loud talking, and you immediately recognized All Might's voice, and you knew it was go time. You took a deep breath, ready to start screaming, when you felt intense heat just below your chin. Your breath caught in your throat as your eyes darted up to see who it was. To your surprise, Dabi stood next to you, his right hand set alight, the edges of the bright blue flame licking at your collarbones. And just seconds after you realized he was there, the door to your room burst open, and several pros raced in. Upon seeing you, several of them tried to grab for you, but Dabi yanked your hair back and moved his hand closer to your neck and leaned down and whispered, "Let us know when you're healed." You knew exactly what he was doing. You knew he didn't want to hurt you, but he knew he had to do it to keep the facade up. He pressed his hand to your sternum, not long enough to leave a third-degree burn, but just long enough to cause the skin to blister. You gasped in shock, the agonizing burn momentarily leaving you breathless. You let out a small shriek of pain and shut your eyes tight, trying not to cry. When the pain subsided enough for you to open your eyes, you glanced up again. Dabi was gone. You sat there catching your breath as the heroes untied you and led you out of the building. Once at UA, you were taken to Recovery Girl's office, where she quickly healed you. And a couple seconds after you were alone, you heard the radio turn on. Dabi asked if you were okay, which you responded, "Yes." "Okay, wait there, we're almost in," he replied. And the radio went silent. Not a minute later, a gate opened in front of you. Dabi walked in and threw you your villain costume. "Hurry, the others are waiting," he said. You ducked into a small closet and quickly changed. As you left the closet, donning your villain costume and a mask over your face so no one would recognize you, you threw your costume to Mr. Compress, who turned it into a small blue orb. You raced through the gate to find a chaotic scene. What seemed like hundreds, if not thousands, of villains were fighting countless other students and other teachers. You were quickly thrown into a quarrel with Eraserhead, but you decided not to use your quirk. If they had captured you, you have an alibi. Then you were shoved into another student. You quickly began to fight with them, but then you realized something. You suddenly became aware of the sounds of stone cracking under stress. You looked up to see part of the building crumbling. You looked back down at the kid in front of you, and a sudden boost of adrenaline shot through your blood. Before you knew it, you had shoved the kid out of the way. Then the cracking stopped. Everything stopped. The world was silent. Silent and black. The pain brought you back to consciousness. Something heavy was crushing your chest and legs. Your eyes shot open, and you could only see stone and rubble. Your eyes darted around, trying to make sense of your situation. Then it hit you. You had saved that kid from the falling debris, and now it was on top of you. You could feel the jagged edges of the debris stabbing into your back and your legs. and you could barely breathe. Your first instinct was to try to push the debris off of yourself, but as you tried this, you heard a loud crack. White-hot pain shot through your left leg and through your entire nervous system. You screamed as the pain flooded your brain and clouded your senses. From across the battlefield, Shoto Todoroki was helping some of the students back into the building when he heard a blood-curdling scream from somewhere in the piles of rubble. He started to run to where it was, but Aizawa grabbed him with a scarf. "Someone could be trapped or injured," he protested. Aizawa reluctantly let him go, and he sprinted towards your direction. Meanwhile, you were trying not to scream again, biting down on your tongue, hot tears streaming down your face. The pain was nauseating. You could feel the color draining from your face as black creeped in on the edges of your vision. Then you heard it. Footsteps. You tried to call out to the person as you heard the footsteps get closer, but they never responded. You could slightly only see their feet. Why won't they say anything? You thought to yourself. You were going to say something to them, but were interrupted by the feeling of cold metal against your bare skin. You looked down to see the barrel of a gun pressed up against your right hip. The icy feeling made you shiver. You couldn't see the face of your attacker, but you knew that you didn't have to look at them to know their true intentions. You began to beg and plead with them not to shoot, but to no avail. The violent roar of an explosion sounded close to your head, rendering you temporarily deaf. The pain spread throughout your nervous system quickly. As Todoroki and several of the other pros approached the rubble pile, they heard a gunshot and another blood-curdling scream rip through the air. They stopped, apprehensive about what was over there. Todoroki approached the rubble pile where you were, and found you rather quickly. He was about to try and help you when a large hand clapped on his shoulder. "Shoto, what are you doing?" The voice who spoke was Endeavor. "Father, they're dying," Todoroki retaliated. "Father?" You thought to yourself. Then you stared up at him, into his eyes. There was something there. Or rather, someone. Then a wave of excruciating pain washed over you, and black returned to the edge of your vision, and it was growing. The last thing that you remember was the debris being lifted off of you. When you woke up, all you could see was white. You squinted as your eyes adjusted to the bright room. It smelled sterile, like a hospital. As you glanced around, you noticed you were hooked up to several machines, along with an intravenous drip giving you fluids. Then you began to remember everything. You threw back the covers to find a thick layer of bandages surrounding your hip. Your mask! Did they leave it on? You felt your face, and to your relief, it was still on. You leaned back and sighed. Then you heard the door to your room open, and a young woman walked in. At first glance, she didn't look that much older than you were. "Oh, good, you're awake," she remarked, smiling. "You've been unconscious for about 9 hours now," she stated, looking at the chart at the end of your bed. "Well, I hope we can get you fixed up today," she said in a chipper tone. "Why are you being so nice to me?" you asked, raising an eyebrow. She glanced at you and then stared solemnly at the ground. "I know that most villains think they're not good enough to be heroes because of what the hero system says about their quirks and all, and as somebody who's been rejected from almost every hero school they've applied to, I understand your hatred and frustration, and I want to help you guys in any way that I can, and if that means helping an injured villain, then so be it," she replied with confidence. You stared at her, a slight dubious smile crossing your face. "Well, what if I told you that not all villains want to change?" you inquired. She glanced at you and stared at the ground. "Ah, you hadn't thought of that, did you?" "Well, not all villains think that what they're doing is bad. Many of us do what we do because of others, and we believe that what we're doing is right." "They're going to interrogate you. They think you killed Peacekeeper," she remarked. I didn't kill Peacekeeper. Why would I do that? You asked curiously. There was no response. Do any of you people even know what their quirk is? Oh, that's right, you don't. You sneered. I would have no reason to kill Peacekeeper. In fact, I would even try and recruit them to the LOV. The girl stood there and gawked at you, her expression slowly shifting from shock to anger. They would never join a group of the likes of you, she yelled. That's what you think, you remarked quietly. At that moment, a gate opened up behind you, and a hand grabbed you by the back of your hospital gown and dragged you through it. Once it closed, you looked up to see Dabi, Telga, and Shigaraki standing around you. Before you could say a word, Dabi yanked you up off the floor and shook you by your shoulders. What were you thinking? You could have died, he yelled. You shoved him away and stepped back. Do you have any idea how scared I was? Your blood was beginning to boil. You left me behind. You knew I was there, you retaliated. Well, maybe if you hadn't decided to be all heroic, then we wouldn't be having this conversation now, would we? Dabi responded. So that's what this is about? The fact that I helped somebody? So what? It doesn't even matter. It shows that you're not cut out for this. That you would rather be with them than us. He screamed. Dabi, I guarantee if you weren't like this, I would be happier. If you actually were like the heroes, we wouldn't have to live like this 24/7. I am so sick of it. I loved you so much, but I can't take it anymore. You stumbled back, your cheek stinging from where Dabi had hit you. I wish I'd never met you, Dabi whispered. With tears in your eyes, you took off your mask and laid it on the ground. Goodbye. You turned and sprinted across the room to a door that led to the roof of the building. Toga started to follow you, but Dabi grabbed her arm. Leave them alone. Let them cry it out, or whatever, he stated, his voice quivering. Toga freed herself from his grasp and raced after you. She burst through the door that led to the roof and ran up the stairs. She reached the top out of breath and walked out onto the roof to find nothing. Where had you gone? Then a small noise caught her attention. Was that crying? She turned to see you sitting by the railing, your back up against it, tears streaming down your face. She walked over and sat down. Hey, you do know that Dabi doesn't mean any of the things he says, right? She asked. You stared at her. So what? He's right. I'm not cut out for this. Why did I even decide to join you guys? You were a blubbering mess, and it had only been maybe a minute. But you looked like a mess. Listener, look at me. You decided to join us because you thought that we believed everything you did. And we do. We think the hero system is completely corrupt and that it needs to be taken down. Look, Dabi cares about you. We were terrified when you didn't come back. Dabi thought you were dead. He had a panic attack, which has never happened to him before. He's always so calm when you're around. He kept saying it was his fault over and over and over and over again. Really? Yes. He was terrified. He didn't know what to do. None of us did. But then, we figured out where you were. We knew that, well, you were going to be okay. How did you know where I was? You asked. Well, you know that girl you were talking to in the hospital room? Yeah, she's one of ours. She's a new recruit, so we figured, why not give her a bit of a field test? You walked in and sat down. "What do you want?" he whispered. "Dabi, I'm sorry. If I had known I had caused you so much trouble, I wouldn't have even gone to the fight. I didn't know you were so worried about me." "Well, of course I was. We're partners, aren't we? I'm your boyfriend. I'm supposed to worry about you." "Look, I get it. You were scared. But try not to slap me next time you're too mad at me. I'm sorry. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take not knowing if you were even alive or not, and... Wait, what even happened to you?" "Oh, well, just the casual building debris falling on me. I broke my femur, some guy shot me in the hip." "How are you even standing right now?" "Honestly, I have no idea." "Well, I'm just glad you're okay. That's all that matters to me. I love you." "I love you too." Then the two of you embraced. You sat there, just hugging. You couldn't really think of much else to say. Then you heard the door slightly creak open, but it seemed like Dabi didn't notice. Then you pulled away for a moment, and you tilted your chin up, and the two of you kissed. It was a beautiful, passionate kiss. Then you heard a quiet "ooh" from the door. "Himiko, Toga, I swear to all for one, if you don't get your head out of that door, I'm going to steal a knife of yours and stab you," you said in a sinister tone. Toga just covered her mouth. And then Fake closed the door to make it look like she left. Then the two of you embraced again. But you could still tell she was there. "Toga, you're ruining the moment. Get out." You guys are no fun." "Yeah, get out," Dabi stated. "You know you love me," she said jokingly, and left the room. "I'll be more careful next time, okay?" "All right, I won't slap you again." "I love you, you big goof." And guys, that is it for this video. Holy crap, this took forever, and I am so sorry it took forever. And it also took forever to record. Oh my. Well, I hope you guys are having a good day. This video is almost 20 minutes long, I think. Yeah, great. I hope you guys have a good day. And episode 3, I'm not exactly sure when it'll be out, but, yeah. If you guys have any ideas on what should happen next in the story, please let me know down in the comments, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no clue. Okay? Alright. I hope you guys have a good day. Once again, I love you guys, and stay safe, stay happy. Well, as happy as you can be, I guess. But also stay healthy, and stay sane, of course. Alright, this is Dragon Slayer 15 signing off. I love you guys. Bye-bye.